to Community Talk Radio. This is Project Independence in You, Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio. I'm Rebecca Miller, along with Kristina Liu, who is the radio show producer and also the Director of Senior Citizen Affairs for the Town of North Hempstead's Project Independence. Of course, Otto Los, our co-host, is not here today, so we wish him well. Look forward to having him back next week. We pre-record the show on a few days before the show actually airs, and today is Tuesday, February 13th, and it is a very snowy day out there, and hence Kristina and I are both working remotely today, but we're here to talk about what's going on in the town. What is happening?
Well, there's a lot happening, and I just want to recap our first hour of the show. If you missed it, we had on the fabulous Shari Baton, who is our senior mobility manager over at Project Independence. And we really did a lot of focus on traveling safely in ice and snow, whether it's, and these are, a lot of the tips obviously are, weather, but they're just good tips to kind of practice in general, as far as preparedness goes and just safety and pedestrian safety, certainly. And there's so many little things, to do that don't cost so much money. There's really, really great little tips, Shari shared, with just putting, you can buy these reflective tape and just put a piece and like a little pieces around you go such a long way. So if anybody missed our interview with Shari, you could always obviously watch it on North Hempstead TV. You can go to our Project Independence website, or you can go to our WCWP YouTube page. There's so many ways to get it, because it's a lot of great, jam-packed with golden nuggets, certainly, was Shari's interview. So I really
Definitely.
encourage people, check it out.
One of the things she didn't bring up, just because there was so much focus on safety and ice and snow, and the fact that today is Tuesday, February 13th, that we did have a very snowy day. So it was very timely. So we focused a lot on that. But one of the other things that she does is this CarFit program,
Yes.
where we do it a couple of times a year, and she can talk a little bit about it. Maybe we'll have her back on eventually. But it's really about kind of getting yourself in your car, optimizing how you're positioned and being aware of, definitely not, if you tend to be shorter, you don't want to sit on anything. You need to adjust the seat, your side view mirrors, your rear view mirrors, all the little things. And she kind of goes over with you your best positioning in the car and how
It's
to
such an
maximize.
incredible program. It really is. And I mean, I was CarFit a bunch of times. I've been CarFit over the years, because every time you get a new car, it's one of those things. We've all been driving for a very, very long time. You have your comfortability, and you just think it's just like a standard comfortability, but there's so many things, that factors that go into it, right? You get older, you might get a little shorter, if the car is different. And, there's so many different contraptions in new cars, right? So it's not like you just pull the seat forward or push it up. There's lumbar support. You can lift the seat. I mean, there's so many cool things in newer cars now, which is kind of standard in a lot of new cars. That really could add to the comfortability and safety of it. Something that always stuck with me from CarFit was the distance should really be a ruler length from the steering wheel to your chest,
Mm-hmm.
due to airbags coming out, because if you get hit with an airbag, that could really crush you. So it's these safety things and how to adjust the steering wheel. And my other favorite thing that I literally yell at everyone for, which is my CarFit golden nugget, is that you shouldn't see your car in your mirrors. This is something that took a lot of getting used to for me. And then, when I learned that in CarFit, because you want to maximize your surrounding areas,
So you're
so
talking about
you're
the side view mirrors on the
your
car.
side view mirrors. Yep, exactly.
Right.
Your side view mirrors. You don't want to see your car because you're in your car. So the goal is to really open it up as wide as possible so you could see what's going on around you. And it really takes getting used to. And I tell everyone, I remember I yelled at my mom about it too, because you saw like my mom's full car in her side view mirror. And it really just makes such a difference. So I encourage everyone to get CarFit. There's events all over the place. hopefully we'll be able to do some. But you could always call 311 and connect to Shari about that, because we've seen some crazy things back. I don't know if you remember the one PI member who was sitting on a stack of phone books
Yes.
because she couldn't see over the, steering wheel. So it's certainly dangerous. And there's really amazing contraptions. Shari will whip it out, and we do a lot with AAA. And there's like these car wedges. I mean, there's so many little tiny contraptions that you could utilize that are safe to get yourself in the car. I always think about my grandfather for too long drove when he shouldn't. He suffered from stenosis, so he could barely turn his neck, like in older years. And we would sit in the car with him, and then we finally, had to have that talk about, taking the keys away, because, we were trying to explain you're not having a full range of motion. You can't turn your head. You do not see, yes, all these other, and this is before the time of, backup cameras and all these things. But even so, you still, these devices are great, but I know about myself, Beck. I still actively turn to, look, even though you might see it in your, backup camera, but it's really important to have that range of motion as well. So that's something else Shari's able to do. She's done a lot of presentations for groups and just one-on-one, conversations about, giving up the keys, because of course we know it's a quite a sensitive, difficult topic to have, but it's I've seen a lot of our members, finally come to terms with it, that it's too dangerous, to continuously drive. So
Right.
these are all
I
great
like
things that
what you
Sherry
said.
does.
Yeah. I like what you said, Christine, that you still turn because,
Mhm.
I had been down to Florida several times over the last couple of months just because to be with my stepmother while she was recovering. And I was driving her car, which is, an older car, just like
Mhm.
Shari was saying about her parents. They like the old stuff, no backup camera,
Right.
and it's been a long time because that's something that was kind of is mandatory now, I think, in cars are
I
these
thought so
backup
too.
cameras.
Right. Yeah.
She doesn't
Yeah.
have it. She has no bells and whistles, and it really made me think about, even how now I get alerted if a car's coming up close. Like
Yeah.
if I want to
Right.
switch lanes, I can
Mm-hmm.
tell I have like four lights. When a car gets closer, more and more lights light up.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't have any of that. So and it's been so long since I
Yeah.
was in a car for that I kind of after driving it for a week or so I was kind of getting back used to it, and then
Yeah.
coming home it's like so easy to drive my car, but
Mm-hmm.
it's probably a good idea to continue all those other things we did with
Yeah.
when we didn't have these devices. It is good to kind of look because there are blind spots even to
There are blind
cameras
spots, and
and
there are delays. I have to say, I'm very fortunate to, I lease, I get my car every 3 years. But there has slight times in these cars that there is like a little delay, or like something isn't clear, and you're like, whoa, whoa, so it's so important to do that. And just as another reminder, we all, as I mentioned, have been driving for a long time. You get comfortable, you think you know everything. But to take these defensive driving courses is just so important. The town of North Hempstead, we offer a bunch at Clinton G. Martin Park. I believe March and April are closed, but you can call 311 or 516-869-6311 to get that. And you can also do virtual ones, if you choose to do it via the computer. But let me tell you, it is something that every time I do it, and on top of it, on top of the safety factor of it all, I'm, you're either getting points off if you have points from tickets, or, like myself, your insurance gets lowered, which is just, great. Any reason to save some money. But I'm always learning something from it. And it's really a lot of these basics that so many of us have, haven't done in so long. Like you're saying, Beck, it's like, it's really just back to basics and turning and distance and all these things, because you do get comfortable with the bells and whistles. I mean, I make fun of my mom all the time because they said it's like, you're in a musical vehicle in her car when you just hear like everything's beeping at all times, you know, she, veers anywhere. So, those features are so great. I personally like love having that too, because I think as much as you practice these things, have a little backup, reminder is always helpful. But it's just so incredibly important to keep that. And then another reminder is, listen, my husband drives my car all the time. I will then get into my car. He's usually pretty good about it, but everything's adjusted, right? And I think that it's so important before you take off and go to take that moment, sit there, make sure everything is adjusted, your mirrors are good, that your seating is correct to you if someone else has been in the car. So it's just these little things that I think, we've said this on the show too. A lot of times we feel people kind of forget. Sometimes you're in a moving vehicle, you're just so comfortable driving, it's just kind of part of your thing. But you like forget, like, oh my gosh, I'm operating a machine, while driving. So it's definitely these little things that go a long way, certainly. So, but the
Tanya,
defensive driving course, as
yeah.
mentioned, May 11th, I believe, is the next one with availability, and that's a Saturday. It's from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. at Clinton G. Martin Park. The cost is $25 for AARP members and $30 for non-members. But once again, you could just give 311 a call and get all the details for that. So important stuff, certainly.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I just wanted to talk, I know I've brought this up before too,
Yeah.
but the first time I did a car fit, I think Shari was practicing on me, and I learned a lot. Like,
Mhm.
it's not a headrest, that device that you lift up and down.
Yes.
It's really there to position to prevent whiplash. It's
Mhm.
to protect you when you're in an accident. It's not there to make your ride more comfortable.
Mhm.
So I was she car fitted me. I think her and Emily were getting trained, and I, sat in my seat, did all this, and not more than 3 days later, I don't know if you remember when
Oh, I
we worked in the
remember.
building in Roslyn, right on the service
So
road,
scary.
and they had changed the approach. They redid the approach to the LIE just past Glen Cove Road, which is where we get on the LIE. The ramp wasn't as long. There was a new light there. Cars wound up backing up onto the service lane, the left lane. So if you're getting onto the LIE, you could be backed up into the fast lane. So
Yeah.
they
Oh
redid
gosh.
a lot of that
Yeah.
since then. But I'm getting on the LIE. I'm the second car at the light to go. The red light, and then a car behind me was coming, did not know, realize, I guess, and ran into me, knocked me into the car ahead of me. I bounced back, and the car behind, was four cars involved. Every single person, I want to say, except for me, was injured in some way. An ambulance came for the one kid in the back. The cars were all in really bad shape. I got out of the car, I checked on everyone, we called 911. And I feel like because I was positioned right in that car, the parts of the car that are supposed to take the hit did. And it wasn't
Mhm.
me because I was seated right. I was, I saw it coming, and I tried not to tense up because,
Yeah.
all those kinds of things. So that was, it's really important for a lot of different reasons to be positioned correctly in a car. It's, yes, visibility, you want to be able to see, you want to be able to maximize your mirrors, but it's also safety for yourself. And I'm very thankful that I did that program back when I did.
Yeah.
And
I
that was
mean,
my
like, look, that
story.
it is, but and that's just we've all, been there and learned these things. And that's why it's so important to really just get, comfortable. And there was so many seniors too that have come to car fit things. Listen, and I'm just as guilty, right? It's confusing. You get these new cars, you sit with the salesperson for a short amount of time, which just shows you really should sit with them longer and really just find out where the buttons are, because there's times that I'll walk away and be like, I don't even know where this is, and luckily I have my own personal, Jay at home who will show me all these things. But there was people I remember coming to CarFit that had no idea where their hazard lights were, where the emergency brake. I mean, like key features to driving your car. So it's just really, really important, and I can't stress it enough and I think it's great for people of any age, right? That we're able
Yes.
to pick up these things and serve as a refresher because everyone gets a little comfortable and it's just important to to really refresh your skills. So once again, please call 311 or 516-869-6311 for any of this information. We mention it all the time on the show. We didn't get to talk too much about our transportation program, but we do discounted medical, free food shopping, for all other transportation. Sherry's able to assist you and kind of help find the most cost-effective way to get from place A to place B. So really just give her a call. She's such an asset, and she goes above and beyond working with each person that she talks to as well. So
She certainly
um,
does. I'd like to give a shout out to our partners, our taxi company partners. So we have All Island and also Deluxe, and those two companies cover the entire town's Project Independence transportation program. And we also have town buses and subcontracted buses that go to senior events and senior programs and senior centers. And you can get all that information again by calling 311. But we do have great partners as well.
yeah, absolutely. It's perfect. And that's what makes the program so successful. And they've been partners from the beginning. So really, really great stuff. And I know we are approaching the end of our first segment, but I just have to shout out Commissioner Kimberly Galante just texted Rebecca and I while we are on air to let us know that today, Tuesday, but we're big celebrators anyway. So even if you're listening to Friday, we'll still celebrate. It is World Radio Day. So very fitting that
Wow.
we are today too. So a shout out to all of our listeners and the radio family, and of course Dan Cox and WCWP for our World Radio Day celebration.
Well, how can we continue with this segment? We have to go to a break now. So after break, Kristina and I will continue talking about what's going on in the town of North Hempstead. You're listening to Project Independence in You, Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio.
So I get this call from my grandma, and she's like,
"What's a podcast and how much does it cost?"
So I tell her, podcasts are like radio shows, but you can download them on any device and listen to them anywhere at any time, and they're free. And then she says,
"I see, but where can you find good ones?"
And I'm like, go to wcwp.org/podcast and check out the lineup of original shows, or download any podcast app on your phone or tablet and search for LIU Studios. And she's all like,
"Oh, that sounds easy."
And then she asked me what an app is.
LIU Studios podcasts, available on any podcast app. Those little button things on your phone screen. Just ask your grandkids.
Welcome back to Community Talk Radio. This is Project Independence in You, Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio. Kristina, let's hear more about what's going on in the town of North Hempstead.
Yes, well, we are in the month of February. And of course, as we mentioned, it certainly brings some weather changes, but it also is Heart Health Month. Last week we had on the show Maura Callio from St. Francis Catholic Health, who did a whole wonderfully informing segment on all things heart health. I think we were all very busy writing notes, certainly about different tips. I was preaching to everyone that weekend as well about that, and it's just so incredibly important. So if you missed that, please check it out on any of the modes of our website, our PI website, or our WCWP YouTube page, or you could see some reruns on North Hempstead TV too, because it was just so important. And in our February email newsletter, I actually have a main headline article about Heart Health Month and the 10 ways to improve your heart health. Everyone knows I love a good bullet, nice, concise, golden nugget kind of list, and this certainly is one of them. So just some of the 10 ways that you could do this. And I always encourage people, and this actually happened this weekend. I was taken to my mom to a bunch of different doctors. And, we were talking to the doctors because there's a lot of things. My mom suffers with high blood pressure and cholesterol, and she's on meds and stuff. And, we were just having all these conversations with the doctors. And the doctor said, even if you just incorporate one of these small changes, right? And that's what I always we try to get across on this show, Beck, is that you don't have to tackle it all at one time. It can be quite overwhelming, right? You see this list and you're like, oh my God, I need to do everything, at once.
Right.
Doing the smallest little change can make such a humongous effort. So listen to this list and see where you want to go with it. It's balance calories eaten with physical activity. So listen, if you're going to have a day where you indulge a little more than normal, it's so important to really balance it with maybe a little extra physical activity. Do a little extra walk around the block or something. Reach for a variety of fruits and vegetables, which is just so huge. It's so beneficial, not just for your heart, for so many other realms of your body functioning. Choose the whole grains. Include healthy protein sources, mostly plants and seafood. Use liquid, non-tropical plant oils. Choose minimally processed foods. We certainly know this can be jam-packed with so many things, including really, really high sodium. Subtract added sugars, cut down on salt, limit your alcohol usage, and really do this wherever you eat. So whether you're eating out, you're taking in, you're cooking, it's really, really important to just be mindful of all these things. And when I was sitting with my mom's doctor this weekend, I just love her, and she's just a true testament to incredible doctors. But we were sitting there talking, and she was like, she just sounded like a listener of our show, Beck, because she was just like, it's just important to just be mindful of your choices. And I was like, you're talking my language, lady. Um, so it really is.
It's
It's just so
true.
important to
And I
be
like what
mindful of what you're putting in your body.
And I like what you brought up too about going to restaurants, because sometimes when you're on a strict diet or you're gluten free or
Yeah.
diabetic, and it's kind of sad because maybe you feel like you can't go to restaurants. But I today the restaurants flag so many meals. Some are gluten free. Ask about whole wheat options, non dairy. I mean, you really, in order for these restaurants, they have smartened up. They have to be
Yeah.
able to accommodate
And
every
especially
kind
on
of
Long Island, we're
diet
very
restriction.
fortunate
Yeah,
to have a lot
yeah,
of great restaurants. And you're so right, Beck. It's so important to know that you could just ask for these options. And no, right? There's certain things you say, like, listen, there's plenty of times, put the sauce on the side, So there's all these little kind of small additives. You're not asking for anything too crazy. Um, and it is hard because when you do go out, you're not sure how much, they're putting in of salt. And listen, a lot of times why things taste so great is because they're extremely salty, right? So it's just important to be mindful of all these things, whether you're, cooking or eating out. So all
great
these little
tip.
steps certainly can make a huge, huge difference in your heart health as well. And it affects just everything, right? We're all connected inside. So it's such a great tidbit. If you are interested in the hard copy of that or the hard copy of our email newsletter, you can call 311 and I will certainly mail you out a hard copy. And of course, if you have an email address, which is even better, I could add you to the list and you'll get it every month. So soon we'll be on the March email newsletter. So it's just really crazy. I mean, we're over 5,000 people on the list now, which is really, really great. And it's such a wonderful source of information. So please sign up for that. Beck, give us a quick little update. I know each week it gets close, they close out more and more, but of course our exercise registration kicked off. And the classes haven't started yet or have started?
No, the classes start the very last week of February. In fact, the first Friday class is March 1st. So
Mhm.
we got a lot of the waivers in. I want to thank everybody because what we've been doing is sending the waivers before we send people the confirmation letters. Very important to read through the waiver. There is inherent risk in any type of exercise, even the kind of most gentle classes. So just make sure you run by your doctors. Just kind of read the waiver. Also very important with the waiver is an emergency phone number. We hope we never have to use it. It's like a will. We don't want to do it, but we do it because we have to. There's plenty of times, I would say there are times like sessions where we've never used it. But if we don't have it, you're not considered registered, because there have been times where someone has felt a little bit dizzy and maybe they drove there, and we just want to, they feel well enough to get home, but we want to alert somebody. So it's just important to have that, and that's for somebody of any age. So once
Yeah.
the waivers come back completed, we then send out the registration letters, which will be going out this week. And also keep in mind that the instructors have, certain days off. So you may see gaps in your Mondays. We try to fill it up on the back end. Maybe we'll add an extra class in June, but the instructors do travel. We do our best to get a minimum of 13 classes in each season. So that's where we're at. And, we start off very soon. You'll get your registration letters. And one thing, I guess, in line with the first hour of the show, which was related to driving in the ice and snow, if there is even a chance that it's going to snow, we will cancel the class, because not only is it not safe for our residents to come out, but our instructors, some of them travel further, and the likelihood is they're not going to be able to get in. So you can always call 311 to confirm. So if you know that there's a potential of bad weather on a day that you have class, call 311 before you go, because we don't want you coming out in bad weather and the class has been canceled. We do our best to call everybody, though there are times that, we can't get in touch with everybody in time. Sometimes weather comes on suddenly. So just be careful, and this way you can come the next week and have a great class. So we there are a few classes that are full and some that are almost full. So just keep calling, and if your class is full, there might be another class that interests you. So and that's the update.
Great. Yeah, I know. I know that they are certainly, every day there seems to be a new class filling up, which is great, which shows how people really, and Beck, a testament to you certainly for overseeing this whole program. And it's just nice to see really how it's growing and getting to a place, because during COVID, so many different adjustments had to be made, in the classes. So it's really great to see that classes are able to be added and the size of classes have been able to be added. So it's really, really wonderful. And there's just such a variety of classes, everything from yoga to dance fitness to Tai Chi. I mean, really, really,
Aerobics.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just it's really such a great program. And once again, you could always watch North Hempstead TV to catch up on any exercise programs. Let's say the weather is crummy and you can't get out. You could do it on North Hempstead TV, or you could just supplement the classes too. So it's a really, really good option. And I like the idea that you could have that in your home. So great program.
It
Call
really is.
311 for any availability for that. So good
And there's
stuff.
also, when the weather gets better outside, certainly there's so many options in the parks in North Hempstead. There's walking paths, there's North Hempstead Beach Park, there's Camera Park, they have walking paths. We even now have a little bit of a walking area at Clinton Martin
Mhm.
Park where you can just kind of cycle around. And we do a lot of walking we kind of make up our own walking path at Clinton Martin. So, enjoy the parks and walk around them, because they really are there for
That's
the
such a
residents.
great, tip back. And it reminds me of our interview actually from last week about heart health, because walking came up so many times, and of course our fabulous Otto Lowe's, who is our inspiration to all of us, was really sharing a lot of personal experiences he has over the years. And he truly believes that because he is such an avid walker, and he is out there in all kinds of different weather conditions a lot of times, but it really has helped balance off so many things that really could, medical things that could have went a different direction, that getting his heart healthy by this active, walking and stuff. And you always hear this now, right? Walking is probably one of the best exercises for you out there, for so many reasons. And I'm glad you mentioned the parks back in North Hempstead, because North Hempstead residents are so, so fortunate to have such a host of larger parks, and then each town has little smaller parks. I mean, there's some crazy number and I always forget it. But when we've had the parks department on here, they've shared how many different parks were in North Hempstead, and it's always mind blowing.
Little
But
ponds and
I,
lakes, like pretty
yeah, well,
parks.
I
Some are small,
actually
some are
went,
bigger.
and a lot of them are dog friendly, which I have to give a special shout out to North Hempstead, because now that I'm a doggy mom, we're always looking for places to take our little boy. And one of my favorite, I grew up in Greenvale, which was the Roslyn School District, and my favorite place when I was a kid to go to was it's Jerry Park. We called it the Roslyn Duck Pond, but it's Jerry Pond Park for the formal name. But it's had so many renovations over the years, and I haven't really been there in a long time. But I literally spent so much time there during childhood, because it's not an overwhelming size park, and then you have the beautiful pond and the ducks, and there's all kinds of seating areas
Yes.
there. It's such a peaceful, and it's right in walkable distance to get into the town. So it's really a great spot. So I actually went over the weekend with my husband and our dog. I have to say, my dog loved it just as much as my husband and I. So we were giving him a little history of where mommy and daddy, spent a lot of time together. And it was such a nice
Oh,
walk. They even have, if you forgot, one of the little doggy waste bags, they have little stands
yes,
there too.
Stan.
So
Mhm.
it's such a great thing. And that's just one of the bazillion different ones in North Hempstead that has it. But it was a really nice walk. We were able to walk around the pond, walk
Beautiful.
up. It was just such a great spot. So I really encourage people to check out, what is close to you, because you're very fortunate in North Hempstead to have really, really beautiful areas, right?
Clark
Beck, I know
Botanic
you
Garden. I mean,
took
that's
the
a
words out of my
beautiful
mouth.
park. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Beck's
And
even done some yoga, I believe, in the on the grounds of Clark Botanic Garden. So,
yeah,
um,
we
a great example.
yeah, it's a beautiful park and there's plenty of places to walk and appreciate nature and it's lovely. So yeah, there's a lot of places to get out there, take a nice walk, take your time. It's you don't have to race walk to get the benefit of walking, and just enjoying nature too. So yeah,
Yeah, and then
there's
we
a
had
lot
a
of good
full
places.
North Hempstead day actually that day, because then we went over to Bar Beach, North Hempstead Beach Park, excuse me. I'm using all the names from my childhood. But we got sandwiches from a deli in Roslyn, and we brought them over to North Hempstead Beach Park, sat on a bench, ate our sandwiches, and we're on our way. So it was a really fun day to take it. And then that was actually the day of the polar plunge that was going on, because we saw all these people, and Jay was like, you should know this, you announced it on the radio show, and we were able to get in there. So just take advantage of your local parks, get outside, especially when the nicer weather is there. It feels good for a host of reasons to be out in the local park. So some good stuff.
Yeah, definitely some
um
good stuff. A lot of good stuff
yeah,
coming
there's
up.
just there's just and I think it is, we're just very nostalgic to get into spring. um and we're actually going to be doing a whole bunch of a whole series at the advisory meeting called Spring into Wellness. So that actually kicks off in March. So March, April, May, we're going to have different speakers coming on to talk about all different parts of wellness, right? We're very big on the whole picture of wellness, especially on this show, and the impacts of how everything kind of connects. So I'm
I love
excited that we're
that.
going to be doing, yeah,
That
right?
wellness is that like nice broad term, just like mindfulness,
Yeah.
it's just captures everything in there. So spring into wellness with Project Independence. Yay.
Exactly. And then coming up on February 21st is actually our first advisory committee meeting of 2024. It's going to be both at Clinton G. Martin Park and virtual. So you can call through and one to get register for that. We're going to have Maura Callio, who was on our radio show, as I mentioned last week, talking about the heart of the matter and just how to keep your heart healthy. So that's 10 a.m. and it's going to be February 21st. So definitely sign up for that. It's a great reason, on top of the wonderful speaker, to just see your local social worker, your regional social worker, your regional nurse. You can meet our team. You could meet your neighbors. It's really a great time to voice what's going on in your community. And it's a great group. So I encourage everyone to check out our advisories that meet monthly. So good stuff.
Absolutely.
Coming up also on February 21st is the Facts on Fats, learning about cholesterol and heart healthy facts. Of course, we're always talking about blood pressure, but your cholesterol plays just as an important part in your heart health. So our partners, Cornell Cooperative Extension, will be talking about the role of healthy fats and cholesterol have on your heart health. Discover easy swaps and tips, and just how to intake healthier fats. This is Wednesday, February 21st at 11 a.m. at Magnolia Gardens.
Well, let's take a break. And after the break, let's talk a little bit more about what's going on in the town of North Hempstead. You're listening to Project Independence and You, Talk of the Town on LIU Public Radio.
Take WCWP with you wherever you go with the WCWP app. Listen live 24/7 to all of our streams, all from one app. Plus, call the studios directly from the app and visit our social media. Download the app through the iOS App Store on Apple devices or the Google Play Store on Android by searching WCWP Radio, or visit WCWP.org for links. The WCWP app, available now on iOS and Android devices.
Welcome back to Community Talk Radio. This is Project Independence and You. I'm Rebecca Miller along with Kristina Lou. And I can't believe how fast this show has gone. We're in our last segment and we're talking a lot about what's going on in the town of North Hempstead and the beautiful parks and health and wellness and mindfulness. Just a great show. So what else is going on?
Well, there is a lot coming up, and we'll go back and forth to things that are this month. But what I'm very excited about is that we recently, due to the success of the Smart Van, which we had last November at Clinton Martin Park, and it's the Senior Mobile Access to Resources and Technology Van. It's through our partnership with Family and Children's Association, and it's all about how technology doesn't have to be difficult. You can improve your technological literacy to continue to live well, feel well, and age well. You can get everything on this van, from technological training, connection to resources, informal counseling, and you literally can bring your phone, your laptop, your tablet, whatever your device is, and receive direct assistance. And what was so great about this program is that, we certainly know at Project Independence that we always, especially being at Clinton Martin Park, I can't tell you how many knocks on the door we've received of someone saying, I don't know, how do I find the Wi-Fi on my phone? Do you know what this app is? I can't figure out what my Apple ID is. I mean, there's been the whole gamut of questions that we've received. So this is a great time that you're able to sit down with someone who can go over all these things. I was encouraging people to just take a little note of things. I am essentially the smart van for my dad, who calls me constantly, asking me, I don't understand, I can't send this picture, I need you to walk me through this. So there's all these little things that come up. He deleted all of his contacts the other day, so that was a fun activity. And of course, he doesn't have a phone that backs up to anything, so it was starting from scratch. But all these things, it's really, really great to have people to sit with you. It is something that can be overwhelming if you are someone who is not super tech savvy, but learning these little things can make your life so much easier. I think, Beck, we've certainly seen an uprise in people using technology and seniors using technology since COVID. The whole Zoom world, we didn't know how that was going to be received, but it was received really, really well. The fact that so many of our programs we still incorporated, even as I mentioned in our advisory meetings, there's still a good amount of people that still Zoom in to our meeting for a whole host of different reasons, right? They might be, hesitant to go out, you hear like these rises in different illnesses, or they might not be able to drive, or, it was just more convenient for them to do it from home. So I like when we're able to provide a hybrid program, certainly. Sure. Because a great option. But our smart van is going to be not just one location this year, it's going to be at 4 different locations. So the first one is going to kick off on Tuesday, March 19th. That's over at Fusillo Park in Carl Place. On Wednesday, April 17th at Clinton G. Martin Park in New Hyde Park. On Friday, May 17th at the Yes We Can Community Center in Westbury. And Friday, June 21st at the Port Washington Adult Activities Center. It's from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. You don't need to make an appointment, which is really, really great too. So we'll obviously be promoting this as we get closer, but I purposely scheduled so there's one a month, because maybe you'll something will come up the next month that you want to ask. So great partnership and program. So definitely mark your calendars for that.
I know I asked you this last week too,
Yeah.
but so the hours of the van are the same at each location and it ends at
At each
2
location.
o'clock?
Yeah,
And
so
what
2
is the
o'clock. Listen,
last time?
so
Are they
they're not
flexible?
as they're not super strict. Technically 1:45-ish or something. But there's last time they literally were sitting with the person way past the end time because they wanted to, explain everything thoroughly. So they are such a great partnership, the people over at Family and Children's. But just, you want to be mindful of their time. So certainly try and come a little earlier to maximize your time and questions asked. And it was so great to see, last time that they were out there, I saw people bringing in all kinds of different, their laptop, and they couldn't figure out things. And it was just so great to see everyone walk away feeling like, they really learned something new and are able to incorporate that into their life. So
Right.
really
Like a
great.
new perspective of how things
Yeah.
work, a little
It
like
is because,
simplify.
and we always tell people, especially with, the tablets are bigger, so it's easier for, dexterity purposes, for seniors, a lot of times. And, it really opens your world, it's nice to see because we've been with PI for so long, we've kind of seen the evolution of, technology, and if we even brace the topic in the beginning, it was like, oh, like I don't want to hear anything about that. Now there's, we've done so many programs. Like I don't know if you remember one of our conferences from which feels like a bazillion years ago. I don't even know what year it was, but we had on who has been on the radio show a bunch of times was an author, Abby Stokes, who wrote a technology for the terrified kind of book. And she was absolutely wonderful. And I remember it was kind of groundbreaking in that a lot of our seniors weren't talking much about technology at that time, so this was like a little dipping your toe in this. Then we had Barbara Melman, our wonderful PI volunteer, who provided so many technology programs throughout the years of all different themes, whether it was online banking or social media or just the basics of the iPhone. And now we have a smart van thing and other talks. So it's really great to see that our seniors are, embracing technology and wanting to, get more proficient in it, right?
Mhm.
Because it really opens your world to connecting to people. And I do think that that's a plus.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Also, which is very exciting, and the senior spring fling is going to be kicking off a Friday, March 15th. The flyer is absolutely adorable because it looks like a little sock hop kind of situation. But Friday, March 15th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. is going to be at Fushillo Park in Carl Place. And Friday, March 22nd, over at Clinton G. Martin Park. They are both from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. There's lunch, there's coffee, dessert, dancing, games. You could only go to one event though. You can't go to both events because they really do fill up fast and you must register for this. So call 311 or 516-869-6311 to book your spot for that. So I'm very curious. I'm sure community services is going to have a lot of fun decorations for that.
So today is, again, it's February 13th. We're pre-recording it for Friday, which is the 16th. So by the time you get this, it might even be closed out. So please call 311 to book. The rooms can only, they have a certain capacity, and we're using the biggest rooms we have in the town as it is. So, call right away.
That's right. For all these kind of programs, you really do, because the good thing is that a lot of people want to do them as well, but the bad thing is they do fill up fast. Our Project Independence nurses are going to be bringing back their Watch Your Step fall prevention program, which is another extremely important program. It's a 5-session program, and each session is based upon a different kind of component of Watch Your Step fall prevention. And it's really to learn the ways to decrease your risk of falling, simple exercises to increase strength and balance, the importance of medications for bone health, and different community and home safety. So that is Wednesdays, March 20th. It starts, and that's at Fushillo Park in Carl Place as well. But you must register for this program too. But really a great thing. And, we've seen and heard from so many seniors the benefit that these fall prevention classes really have for them. And it's just nice, and I think back to our Yes We Can Friday programs, that actually the exercise for balance and strength for that is closed out due to popularity. But I remember there was a senior, and he was actually involved with the radio show, and he had a fall and signed up for this class. And I remember he said he had to start the class, by holding on to a chair, because he was still trying to build his
Mm-hmm.
balance back. And it was as each class went on, the chair, he was able to step further and further away from the chair. And then by the end of it, actually didn't need to utilize it. And that just always stuck with me, that story, because it was just really showing how incredible these programs are, and then he said he learned so many things to hopefully avoid ever falling again. So it's really important to get involved in these fall preventions, and we offer them in all different ways, as I mentioned.
All different
Um,
reasons too why people are off balance. Could be for, new medication adjustment,
right.
could be Meniere's ear. It doesn't mean that you'll have it forever. It could mean
Mhm.
that it's something that's with you, but you get all these great like ways to kind of watch your balance and
Mhm.
move things out of the way and how to kind of come up, stand up. It's really a great program, even for anybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I mentioned, the Fridays at Yes We Can, that piece, the exercise for balance and strength portion of it, is filled up at the moment. But there's a bunch of other programs those days too, which are Let the Games Begin, which is boosting your brain power, and coordination. That's for with our nurse Kelly. What in the world is going on? And Color Me Calm is a current events, and then mix it with some coloring to de-stress yourself. So you might get stressed over current events, and then you could balance it out with some wonderful adult coloring. And then there's heart to heart bingo and blood pressure screenings, which are going to be provided by Kelly, our nurse, and Deborah, our social worker over there. So please, you have to call through on one. As I mentioned, things fill up so fast. So please reserve your spot for that. So it's really, really a great program, the Friday programs. Also, our St. Francis Hospital outreach bus is making its rounds, kicking off on Friday, March 1st from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Yes We Can Community Center, and then Friday, March 22nd, over at Clinton G. Martin Park in New Hyde Park. You do not need to make an appointment for this program. Screenings include a brief cardiac history, blood pressure check, a simple blood test for cholesterol and diabetes, and more. As I mentioned, appointments are not required, and they're going to be making their rounds throughout the spring. So please stay tuned for all of that information, because it's certainly an important thing. Our Golden Heart Bingo and Blood Pressure Screenings program over at Roslyn Community Center meets on Thursdays, and that is from 12 to 1 p.m. Our fabulous social worker and nurse, Un and Joanne, oversee that program. So if you're in that area, it might be more convenient for you to head over
And if
there.
I may just throw in that we do have a Project Independence yoga class at 10:30 on Thursdays at Roslyn. So, it's kind of
Is
a
there
good.
space? Is that still has some space
I,
available
I
over at
believe
Roslyn?
so. Yep, I believe so. So you would have to call 311. But I do believe there is space available. And it's chair yoga. So and it's great. It's really for any level person in yoga, and it's good for people who've never done it before. And it's good for people who've been doing it, for years.
Yeah, what's so nice too is that, a lot of these programs, the fact that, precedes, this is that you could spend, the afternoon at these great facilities and get familiar with different people. And, that's one of my favorite things about Project Independence. And that's something that actually came up in the advisory about how it just reconnects you to your neighbors, to your community. and I've said it a bazillion times, but it is a story that I will forever stick with me. And it was one of our members who had lived in the community very long and, signed up for an advisory committee. And this was in the NORC, Naturally Occurring Retirement Community Days. So one of the OG advisories. And she was just saying she felt so detached from her block. She had lived there for so many years, but her kids were grown, so they weren't there. So, a lot of times when you have children, you're more connected to the neighbors, to the people you go to school together, at the bus stop. I mean, there's so many different ways to connect, but she felt so disconnected, and there was new families moving in. And the fact that she came to this meeting, was able to meet someone who lived on her block, and this is not an isolated story. I've heard this so many times. And really just reconnect, and she said she felt now a part of her community again. And, I think that, and all I could speak for Rebecca and I, just makes it all worthwhile. What we do is that, here's these seniors who are just as much a part of the community as any other resident, and Project Independence really gives them that tie and access to so many wonderful things. I mean, it's really just such a great, great program. So it's my little commercial for that. So it's a story that I forever will be touched by. I was just a little intern at the time, and I remember being like, oh my God, this is the best story ever. So really great stuff. Our social discussion group is virtual. So if you are interested in participating virtually, it's Thursdays, February 1st, 8th, 15th, 22nd, and 29th. And that is from Andrea Taylor, facilitates that. And it's a great kind of current events group to sign up for. And then we have coming up next week's show, I want to make sure I get this plug in. We have on Ronald Fatula, who is a great friend of the show, who is an elder law attorney, is coming on to talk about 2024 changes in Medicaid and new tax guidelines. Ron is always so great to have on the show because he's up on all the new things that are changing. And every time he's on, I certainly learn back some kind of new information from him. So things are constantly changing. It's one of the overwhelming things to know, and really how important it is for, I think a lot of people don't fully understand Medicaid or what's included. So he's always such a great person to have on to go over all of that. So
it's almost like you're having a consult, with an elder law attorney when he comes on, and we really try to ask those pertinent questions that maybe, one of our listeners would be asking. And of course, again, like you said, there's always updates, and there's so many layers to updates too. So
it's one of those things that are super overwhelming. So having him, on the show to get an hour with him to go over all of this is really, really beneficial. And once again, all these programs, our men's group, meets at the Hillside Public Library on Fridays. Our Blankets of Love knitting crocheting group is on Tuesdays at Clingy Martin Park. Our bridge class, that's over at Yes We Can on Wednesdays. There's so many different programs, and I know it's too much to retain all at one time. So that is why always just call 311 or 516-869-6311 for any of this information.
Thanks for listening to Project Independence in You, Talk of the Town. Of course, we'd like to thank Kristina, and we miss Otto. He'll be back next week, I think. Project Independence in You is a production of Long Island University Public Radio. Dan Cox is our engineer. Join us again next Friday at 10 a.m. on LIU Public Radio. Goodbye and have a great weekend.